Right, first of all, apologies for the delay. At the end of part one of me video, as many of you find out, life takes over sometimes. You get into your hobby and then events take over, ordinary everyday events take over, and before you know where you are, a whole evening's finished and that's the end of that day. So anyway, without any more waffle, on with the unboxing of Dark Imperium. And like many wargamers, I was impatient and I just couldn't wait to get this unwrapped from its cellophane and see what it was like inside. And as a quick contrast, as looking at the edge of the book and the thickness of this, etc., and the quality of the artwork, and then let's compare that to what there was. Bless its heart, it's served well, but the pages have stood up quite well, really, considering it's a 30-year-old book and it has been thumbed through quite a bit, the original first edition. And on quick evaluation of the two, looking through here, there is a huge amount more of artwork, photographs of figures, and when you look at some of the artwork on the original first edition, you can see it's almost fanzine style art, which was nothing wrong. I thoroughly enjoyed, and so did my children, looking at that, reading it, and enjoying it. But of course things move on, time moves on, people expect better quality, more information, more interesting reading, and this certainly does that. This book here, right up until where are we, data sheets, then we go into the play, the different types of play, there is only war. So up to page 170 is all background fluff, as it's sometimes referred to, and I've gone through that briefly last night, read some of it in depth, and impressed with the amount of information that's there, that you can glean and flesh out your game. There was a little bit, there were hints of that more in this book when that was brought out, and of course there were many publications, additional material which was published over many months in White Dwarf, which obviously I presume still takes place, but I haven't bought a White Dwarf in ages. And then you got from page 170 on are the rules. So it still sounds like a lot of rules, but it's not really. The actual core rules is, as some of you probably already know, is condensed into this lovely little fold-out pamphlet, card, quite a nice thick card stock, so it should last some time, double-sided. So you've got 4 double-sided pages there, and all the core rules that you could possibly need to refer to. And I would imagine after 2 or 3 games at most, 95% of that is going to be in your head, because it's not complex. There is detail, but it's not complexity. And on first readings or flicking through here, it's about choices. They seem to be giving you more choices of how you want to play the game, whether you want to play competitive tournament, big battles, whether you're into more smaller actions that create narrative content during the playing and something you can discuss in the pub or wherever your drinking hole is after the game. And of course the following week or when the next time you meet up, you'll be discussing what went wrong, what went right, etc., which in my experience of wargaming is what a lot of wargamers, if not all of them, are looking for at some point or another, is that enjoyable after action banter It's not just during the game. Okay, if you're deeply competitive and you like entering tournaments, etc., then there is something in there for you, as there has been pretty much all the way along with Warhammer 40k. They've always catered for those of a competitive nature, and point systems that are closely tied, closely balanced as much as possible, although many people try to metagame it and find the holes in it, which is not my thing. I like playing the games, like playing toy soldiers, always have done, and I like to talk about the game, and hopefully there's some memorable moments, even if it is down to a series of rubbish or fantastic die rolls. But you can always explain those things. There's always a reason. There's always narrative during the game you can use to explain it. Anyway, enough waffle. I'm waffling. Beg your pardon. In first impressions, I said this was going to be an overview, not a complete review, and it won't be yet because I've not read it all the way through. A lot of this, even though it's different from the 7th edition, I immediately, beg your pardon, see an improvement, a refining of the game, of the rules, of the play types that you can expect, and they've removed the complexity detail of the game, which, well, it's only going to appeal to a minority of wargaming types anyway, in my opinion. Therefore there is something in here for everybody, hopefully. Narrative play, match play, etc., and open play, which anyone can find something to interest them here. So brilliant. First reflections, beautiful product, lovely publication, beautiful artwork, and I'm going to enjoy reading that in a similar way, but of course 30 years on, as I did with the old first edition. Right, we've covered the quick play reference sheet. Then we have the instructions for assembling and painting, the lovely models that come in there. Once again, immediately the quality jumps out at you, even after, if I can find it, excuse me one moment, is it here somewhere? Oh, I've got it here. Do a big pardon. This is what came with Dark Vengeance. And assembly instructions, which I found very good, and I'm still assembling some of the models there, realising that I'd hardly touched them in the box, so I want to build them first before I get into these. Sad really, but no, not sad, but fun. But I've renewed my enthusiasm for this, and I think that this current product has a lot to do with that. And I said, the footage I've watched so far on YouTube, thank you very much. The contributors, I should have taken a note of several of them that I found of note and done a shout out. I think that's the correct terminology for those people. But anyway, back to the instructions here. They were quite clear and quite good, but they've gone one step further. They've given you the sprue layouts, descriptions, and they've colour coded what you glue, what to put in first, what not to do, etc. And this is all for every figure is colour coded. So there is really no reason for someone to go awry as long as you follow the instructions. And no, they're not like a piece of IKEA or MFI furniture where the instructions are written from in another country in a direct translation of their language into English, which obviously a lot of the time doesn't directly translate and makes gobbledygook to read and look at. This is visual, even though it's number coded for the components, but you would be not a fool, but a bit silly if you didn't follow these and then not make mistakes, because it's all there. It's all there to be seen. And of course, as we get towards halfway, figures we go on to painting. Even better. I mean, okay, you say wonderful bit of marketing, etc. But I can't blame them for doing that. And I use Games Workshop paints and Vallejo and P3 and several other companies. Depends on it's horses for courses. If I'm painting terrain, I use the cheap, cheerful stuff that I can get hold of from the range and places like that, and cheaper shops, budget shops. But the quality of the paints are good, and the evidence is to be seen in the pictures, in the photographs of the painted figures. If you look at those and think, well, ooh, can I try and aspire to doing something similar to that? Because I'm impressed with that. They are certainly a very, very good tabletop quality. If you're not talking about entering competitions and that with the painting quality, but I think anybody would be impressed to field such forces on a tabletop painted to this level. That I mean, they are a sight to behold, and I would imagine would draw people's attention when it's on a tabletop. I think, oh, yeah, I'd like to do something like that. I think so. Inspirational, fun, even though the instructions are quite straightforward for there. Then we go into the basic rules, or the basic details, stat sheets. That's it. For both forces. I like the Death Guard, but I'm going to try and stay with the Space Marines, and it's probably going to be the Dark Angels that I would go rather than Ultramarines. There's no particular reason for that. I just like the green rather than the blue, although blue's my favourite colour. It's a bit weird that. And these, once again, lovely pictures, more guidance for how to paint your figures. If you want to achieve a similar effect, if you're going to paint obviously Ultramarines, and then details about the different types of Marine that this caters for, Primaris Marines, and of course their profiles, their data sheets for the different figures provided in the box. It's all there, and apart from assembly, and of course if you're that anal, get the things painted before you insult someone on the tabletop. But yes, painted figures always do look better than unpainted figures like these things here. It's much better. Where's another one I've actually done? I can't even see it. What have I done? Oh, here it is. I don't know if you can see that. It's a pretty poor light here actually. We've gone dull, but I don't know if I'm putting it in the right place, whether you can see that. But of course, in the unpainted figure, the moulds are brilliant. But and of course, these are Dark Vengeance, of course, not Dark Imperium. So I think I'm going to draw this review to a close here, because as I said, it was an overview, not a detailed synopsis of it, but overall impressed. Excellent production. On first viewing, I thought, ooh, it's a little bit expensive. I don't know whether I want to get involved again. So I was reluctant, but I went and saw my friendly local gaming store, FLGS, if that's a correct acronym, and of course I regularly shop there, so they gave me some discount on buying this particular product. So it wasn't the full £95 retail cost that you'd get from Games Workshop, but I don't think Games Workshop's going to go bust by me not buying it directly from them. I think they'll survive that loss quite happily. So at that, I was impressed, and of course I got the discount. So I thought, well, why not get the Index Imperium, because it actually does cover Dark Angels. This obviously I'm waffling and going on into another product, because this doesn't come with the Dark Imperium box set, but it accompanies it. It adds to the value and the depth of coverage. Of quite nicely. So I'll probably cover that at another time when I know more about it, when I've gone through that. But if you are itching, or you know anybody who may be interested in getting involved in a Games Workshop product and in 40k in sci-fi setting for the first time, or coming back as I am, I can not but recommend it. It's a lovely product. The figures are fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to assembling them. It might take me some time painting them because I'm an extremely slow painter, but it has revived my interest, my enthusiasm to get back in the hobby at another level. Although I've got too many probably irons in the fire with what I do, but I think most war gamers are the same. Anyway, I'll close for now. Thank you very much for listening to my waffling, if you've done that. Thanks very much for British Legion. Shout out to British Legion and that for giving me a thumbs up on a like on my part 1. And I did say I was going to try and get back to doing something a bit more regularly. So I hope that I can now find the time, set aside the time to do a little bit more regularly, shorter content, hopefully, sort of 10-minute clips at a time, something like that. Anyway, thanks for now. Cheerio, folks.